My husband, as usual, was sitting at the TV after a hard day's work. Pointing at the TV screen with the remote control, he indignantly pressed the buttons and said something to himself. There was nothing to watch. It was the news again. His wife, whose name was Ksyusha, studied her magazines with hairstyles, nails, looked at her husband and languid voice said that, Valera, well, do not start. Valera laughed at his wife's reaction. He was in favor of a healthy lifestyle. He had a negative attitude to alcohol, and constantly tried to prove to everyone that there were a lot of problems because of it. He cited problems from the news, from articles on the internet, when people got drunk and did extremely rash things and terrible things while drunk. He told about his coworkers who lost their families because they couldn't control their drunken behavior in front of other women. He was categorically against drunken parties, and even more so corporate parties, because nothing good comes out of it. People lose their human form, and the consequences are clean it up later. My wife had a different opinion about it. She was not so categorical. She liked to drink with her friends on weekends and holidays. Before she got married, she was a real party girl. She might not have gotten married at all, but everyone around her and even her relatives explained to her that her age was up and it was time for her to get married. She decided to listen to the words she was told and agree to the proposal of Valera, who had been courting her for so long. Ksyusha's habits remained. She did not lose the desire to relax with friends on weekends and dilute her mood with alcohol. But the issue of alcohol with her husband was a matter of principle, so Ksyusha had only to come to terms with this position. She promised not to go to the corporate parties, but asked him to leave the opportunity to see his girlfriends on weekends. Ksyusha very much did not like that Valera strongly restricted her in his own interests. Once, Ksyusha returned from work with a small gift bag. Her husband was already home and went out to meet her from work. Valera saw this package, and with a smile on his face asked what it was. Ksyusha answered that it was for Nastya, her friend. At lunchtime, she went to the mall and decided to buy her a present since it was her birthday this week. We agreed to meet our group and celebrate her birthday. Seeing her husband's displeased look, she immediately added that they were going to sit at Nastya's house, where there would be only girls. She went to the room and left the gift there. The husband sighed very much and thought about the fact that she would come drinking again, and he does not like it very much. But mariage is first of all a compromise, and the habits of an adult cannot go anywhere and, therefore, Valera agreed. He loved Ksyusha very much and did not want to quarrel with her. The birthday of a friend came. Ksyusha put on a beautiful dress, put on makeup, and left. At her husband's offer to give her a ride, she refused, answering that she would take a cab with other friends. When his wife left, Valera decided to read on the internet the necessary articles for work, having brewed himself a mug of coffee. An hour later, he finished his work and remembered that he had bought himself a book that he hadn't had time to start reading. He went into the room and looked with surprise at the closet, on which stood the very gift bag he had bought for his wife's friend's birthday. Why didn't she come back for it, Valera thought. He took the phone and called his wife, but after a long ringing, she didn't answer. Well, I'll do a good deed because it's my day off, thought the husband, and began to get ready. When he got dressed and took the car keys, he realized that he didn't know where his friend Nastya lived. Her phone he also did not have. He called Ksyusha again, but there was silence in response. He thought that the matter should be finished to the end and decided to take a rare opportunity to look at geolocation, where his wife was. He decided to activate this function after some crazy man jumped on Ksyusha and tried to pull her off the road. But fortunately, passers-by came to the rescue and scared off the maniac. And from then on, they agreed that on suspicion of any danger, they would use this feature. Now the situation was not an emergency, but Valera thought that once could break this rule. He imagined how excited Nastya would be when Valera brought this gift bag. He went into the maps and looked at the flashing marker, got into the car and followed the navigator to her. Already on the way to her, he felt a stirring inside him. There weren't many residential buildings here, mostly commercial spaces. Besides, he couldn't remember any of his girlfriends living in this neighborhood. The beacon was pointing to a house up ahead. As he drove up to it, he checked the map again. and it was indeed the right place. But it was not a residential house, but a beautiful, luxurious restaurant with a large banquet hall where they usually celebrated events. Valera hoped that the geolocation was not working correctly, but he still got out of the car, took the gift bag with him, and headed to the entrance of the hall. At that moment, several people came out of the restaurant, all of them cheerful. In this company, he saw the very Nastya, whose birthday it was today. He approached her, handed her a package, and said that Ksiusha had accidentally left it at home. Before Valera could ask anything else, some strange man, who was standing not far away, intervened in their conversation and asked Nastya, "What kind of holiday is today?" "It's your birthday today and you didn't tell me?" the man shouted, and started hugging her tightly. Nastya stood with a surprised face and replied that, "My birthday is still a whole month away." Valera looked at her without blinking. She realized that now she had set her friend up very badly, but it was too late to come up with something convincing. Valera opened the door to the hall and went inside the restaurant. Loud music was playing, many people were dancing, and some were sitting at the table. Noticing a few more familiar people from his spouse's work, he realized that a corporate party was held here, and his spouse was here too. The man carefully begins to look around at all those present, and saw his Ksiusha, who was dancing with some man. He hugged her tightly around the waist and leaned close to her face. When the husband decided to approach them, the wife decided to do the unexpected. She reached for her companion's lips herself and kissed him. Valera couldn't believe his eyes. Just like that, the wife crossed everything that was between them. He walked over to them, took the man's hands off her waist, and started shaking his wife by her shoulders. Valera got very angry and started yelling at Ksiusha. The woman did not immediately realize what happened, and at that moment the colleague went somewhere. When Valera let go of his wife, she focused her gaze on him and began to drunkenly say something incomprehensible. All this looked extremely pathetic and disgusting. Her husband could easily forgive her going to this corporate party if she had called him with her. But what happened did not fit in his heed. Perhaps for the sake of such adventurous Ksiusha and ran away to this corporate party. He did not listen to her ridiculous excuses, but only and told his wife that in the house she no longer appeared, and her things he will leave at the entrance. After a quick divorce, he realized that the wife is better to look for among those who share his views and interests. With Ksiusha, they did not agree in one of the main positions, and a grown man is no longer to re-educate under himself, and the case is extremely ungrateful.